Hey everybody, welcome back to the Huckmock Motovlog. It's Jeff, aka Sasquatch. So before we get today's video started, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Nate, 401 Hoonigan. Hey buddy, I owe you a beer. You hit the 100 subs before me. I think I'm recording this at 94. But I told him I'd buy him a beer if he beat me to it, so I'm a man of my word. Next part of this is I do want to apologize for kind of going MIA for the last 2 weeks. I've been dealing with a little bit of family stuff that maybe some point in time I will get to talking to. But today's video is actually almost a response video. So on my lunch break, I was watching Her Two Wheels, girl Jess from Ohio. I don't know her through a hole in the wall. I'm not associated by any means with her or anything like that, but I think she puts out some pretty solid content. So the reason I bring up her channel is she just got back from an event called Babes Ride Out East Coast, and it's an all-female motorcycle rally where they go camping and stuff, which is awesome. Now, she's a very big fan of I believe it's Avatar: The Last Airbender. And she rides a Milwaukee 8, so 17, 18, 19 road glide that she has named Appa, which is some sky bison thing. I don't know. I'm not going to get all into it. Go check her channel out. She does probably a hell of a lot better job than I can of explaining it. So, why are we talking about this? So, Jess bought a road glide special, so no tour pack, no lowers. And Jess, from what I can deduce from Sasquatch reasoning, if you will, is Jess is a couple years older than me. So I'm 31, I think she's 33, 34. So it's not like she's crazy older than me. And she talks about how she's like 5'7" and some other stuff. But the point is, so she bought a special and she added the lowers and a tour pack. And on her trip home from this Babes Ride Out, she encountered, well, let me just get on, oh, this should be pretty easy. She encountered some issues riding with fatigue and with a semi. And one of the things was how the wind was catching the tour pack, I guess, and kind of blowing her around, which leads me to today's video. Why I personally ride an 11 Ultra and kind of what led me here. So, a little backstory on my riding career. My first bike was a 2001 Harley Davidson Sportster 1200 Custom. I bought off a buddy's father's girlfriend, and that was my first bike. And I loved the hell out of it. I rode it everywhere. I put a bunch of money into it and really fell in love with riding. But that wasn't my first experience with riding. I've talked a little bit about it before. My old man, my father, he had a couple of bikes when I was a kid, and that was always fun. But so I got married young, and then I got divorced, and the reason I'm telling you that is, well, my mother-in-law had a 2008, I don't know, it was anniversary color. It is like super damn windy, wow. And it's snowing green, aka pollen, everywhere. My bike is filthy, which, I mean, it's always filthy because I don't ever wash the damn thing. Shame on me, but yeah, it's definitely a little polleny. So I rode the Sportster quite a bit, and like the next year, a friend of a friend came up from Louisiana to Massachusetts, and he was on a 95 Road King with a Thunderheader and apes, and I fell in love, and I was like, I want a 95 Road King. I ended up finding one, and I purchased that bike for $4,500, I think, and I stole the damn thing, but that's because when I showed up to the place that was selling it, it was like a car dealership. They had the carburetor off and a bunch of other stuff, and I picked the bike apart and was like, listen, I'll be honest with you guys, like, I want the bike and all, but I don't know if it runs, I don't know how it rides, I don't know how the brakes are, and blah, blah, blah. I'll give you 45, put it on a trailer, and you'll never hear from me again. If the motor blows up, it blows up. I'm not going to come back after you. Which is all well and good and great. So I rode both of those bikes for, I don't know, a season. And then the keeping up with the Joneses effect got into me, and a bunch of my buddies had Dynas. So I sold both and bought my 07 Dyna. I rode that for a few years, and then, well, we got where we're at now, which is my 11 Ultra, aka the Grandpa Glide. So the reason why I went with an Ultra is, well, it was the first bike that I found that was decently priced, to be honest. I think I got the bike with 22,000 miles on it, and I paid $8,500 in November of 2019. And I've talked a little bit about that before, but it kind of brings up the question to me of, well, why is a 31-year-old guy riding an Ultra? And I'll be honest, touring bike. They're the most comfortable on the highway, and I mean, this really isn't a highway, if you will. This is actually State Route 44. There's a quite a few mile section here where it's all 2-lane, then it drops to 1 lane, and then it goes through like some city parts and shit, but you know there. So, why did I buy an Ultra? So, I took a trip in September, end of August, September of 19, and I had my 07 Dyna, and one of the people I went up with, he rode, and he had a 2001 Road Glide. And he had cruise control, he had the stereo, and a little bit about my Dyna. I had the quarter fairing and the Plex audio. I also had a full-face helmet with a Cena unit in it, so I could jam out to my music that way. But we were riding up, and coming home, we ended up stopping at Laconia Harley in Meredith, New Hampshire. And I saw a 16 Ultra, and I just absolutely fell in love with the bike. So I kind of knew that, okay, well, this is going to happen at some point here. And I ended up posting my bike for sale. Must have been that summer. I was looking for a Road Glide anyway, but that trip, I always say, was the one that sealed my fate. So I had almost sold the Dyna to some kid, and he ended up calling me and said, oh, the bank won't finance me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, dude, you didn't tell me you were getting financed. You just said you had the money. So I had to kind of flake on the guy that I was buying from, and I actually had some family issues then that popped up that I had to take care of. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because that bike was a 2010 Road Glide. And I was like, all right, whatever, not a big deal. And so, like I said, I ended up finding this one. And part of the reason I went to the Ultra is I wanted to travel. I wanted to go all around the Northeast, start adventuring out more. And I kind of figured, well, what better model to do it on than the Cadillac, if you will, of the Harley Davidson world? I mean, in my personal opinion, you have the Ultras, and the only bike above that is a CVO. And I don't have CVO kind of money. I just don't. So I was able to find, like I said, this bike for pretty short money. And I had kind of kept an eye on a couple of what my buddies at the time were doing. And they had street glides, a couple of them had road glides. And they all started putting on the lowers. And they're like, oh, I won't ever do a tour pack. And then one of them ended up getting a tour pack. And I'm just like, all right, well, So I digress a little bit here. So why do I ride an Ultra? So originally, like I said, when I bought this bike, I wanted to travel. And I knew that, all right, well, if I'm going to do it, I might as well get the best bang for my buck. Now, I'm not saying a regular road glide you can't do this stuff on, or a regular street glide you can't do this on. You can. You absolutely can. But I also tap on my good buddy I like to watch, Mr. Professional Monkey, and he talks about having a tour pack, and he goes, you know, I have the Razor, I've had King packs, and the big thing with it is once it's on, you don't want to take it off because, well, it's useful to have all that extra storage in there. And we're just going to zip on by you. And so that was kind of a big deal for me. Now, The other big reason I went with the Ultra is because, like I said, I was watching my buddies. They all started to put lowers on their bikes and mid-frame air deflectors, which is, in the words of Mark, the dick deflector, which, if you don't know, is this small little plastic piece that goes on your frame and helps keep the heat off the inside of your thighs, which is kind of nice. So I ended up finding this Ultra, and I paid $8,500 for it, which I stole the bike for, and I'm okay with it. And when I was listening to Jess talk about her experiences on the road, it kind of blew my mind. Now, I've ridden this bike without a tour pack, I've ridden it with a tour pack, and she was saying how she got behind a semi-truck and she was kind of getting blown around. Now, I haven't really had that issue, personally, but the one thing I was thinking about is I definitely try to avoid them at all costs. And I know for me, personally, I've seen a semi-truck tire blow. It's no fun. It sounds like a shotgun goes off next to your head. And I can only imagine what the damage would be. Never mind if you hit it in your car. You hit it in a bike, you're done. You're going for a ride. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up with why I went the Ultra route is because then I don't have to buy again. And I'm not picking on the older riders, but the old timers that you see riding Ultras, they figured it the hell out. Like, when I first got into riding, the only people that owned baggers were, no offense, old men. And I feel like the next step after that is getting a trike. But those are the only ones you ever really saw having a big bagger. Everybody else was sticking to Dynas or Softails, something of that realm. Looks like we got a little traffic up ahead. Sweet. So, for me, like I said, I didn't want to have buyer's remorse. And I know people saying, oh, if you don't look twice back at your bike when you walk away, you bought the wrong bike. Listen, I parked the bike at the apartment last night, and I might have got up a couple times in the middle of the night just to go pee, just to go make sure the bike was still there. So I definitely love this bike. I'm super happy with it. But I guess what it ties into is I wanted to buy a bagger and be done. So I mentioned before I had a 95 Road King, and that bike was a great dabble into it. And I'll be honest, I would love to find another Road King. I've been looking. The issue ends up becoming that people around here want like $9,000 for a 2003 anniversary color because they think it's something special. And it's like, no, it's not. So that brings me to where I'm at. I didn't want to have to buy a Road Glide and then slap a fairing, or not a fairing, lowers and a tour pack on and all this other stuff that I eventually want. I kind of wanted to buy one and done. Now, I probably could have found a Rushmore. I would have paid more, but it wouldn't have been an Ultra. It would have been just a stock Road Glide. And in my eyes, I really would have rather done what I did and get a little older but still top of the line. Because in 2011, there was only a few models above Ultras and they're all CVOs. Like I said, that's my personal opinion. Now, the other side of that coin, I was bringing up my Road King. So I've been poking around, I've been looking, and I would love to find an 09 and up Road King. It's just not in the cards right now with Baby Sasquatch number 1, but 2, way more importantly, the prices are just outrageous. And I had a very interesting conversation with my buddy Mark about, he was asking, why does it have to be 2009 and up? And I said, well, simple, all my stuff bolts on. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, bud, I can throw the touring seat that I have on, my Mustang, the low vintage touring. I can throw that right on. No problem. I've got a chrome pro pipe sitting in the shop. I can throw that on. Absolutely no problem. I have a set of 12-inch Chrome Works bars I can throw right on. I have all these extra parts that are for 09 to newer. And the big thing I said to him, I guess, is I said, dude, I would love to go buy my Dyna back, and I could. I've talked to my buddy Rob about it, and he's, hey, this is the price if you want to buy it. He's not jumping to sell it. That's the thing. He doesn't have to sell the bike, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so I said to Mark, I said, dude, as much as I would love to, go out and buy the old Dynaback, if I'm going to spend the kind of money, I would rather have a touring bike, number one. Number two, I'd also like to have hard saddlebags. And, yeah, it's definitely windy over here. Wow. So, why hard saddlebags? So, I had Leather Pros on the Dyna, and they were pretty awesome. I enjoyed them. I could fit a full-face helmet in the bag. And that was amazing. The other issue I had, why the hell did that guy just wave to me? We'll get to that in a minute. So one of the things that I've noticed is, so I have hard bags. It can be pouring bleeping rain, my stuff doesn't get wet. With the Leather Pros, I always worry about my stuff getting wet, and I never bought the rain cover that goes over them. And I totally could have, but I just didn't. I didn't have the bike long enough, I guess. So the other side of that coin is with the hard bags, like I said, I don't have to worry about my stuff getting wet. So I was saying to Mark, 09 and newer, I have a bunch of parts that fit. Hey, there's an Ultra. I have a bunch of parts that already fit the bike, so I don't have to worry about that. The other big thing for me with the newer bike is, I said it's a newer frame. Nothing changed from 09 to 22. And that's a very beautiful, beautiful thing. So I said a lot of the parts can switch over, which is huge. But the other big thing is, I get a 6-gallon tank, 6-speed, and 09 to 2011 is a 96-inch motor. In 2012, Harley ended up dropping the 103, like in my Ultra, into the Road Glide, or the Road Kings. And I think the great directional at the last second, bet. I can't stand people today. Put the phone down. So, one of the other reasons I said this all to Mark, besides the parts and everything else that it bolts up and lines up, is where everything fits for 10, I don't know, like 12 or 13 years, something like that. I can realistically make that Road King just like a brand new one if I wanted. Not that I would, but I could. So, I guess to kind of wrap this up, the reason I went with an Ultra, because I don't want to have buyer's remorse. I didn't want to have to buy another bike for a long time. And if this thing goes boom, with, let's see what we got for miles. We have 27,813 as I'm currently riding down the road, which is nothing. But if it goes boom, okay, I put a new motor in it. I own the bike outright. Cost me nothing. The only kind of big thing I would probably change at this point is redo the front suspension with the 14 and up style. But I don't have to. Maybe some more lights. So, do me a favor, guys. Drop down below. Tell me what you ride. Tell me what you think. I want to hear, have you bought a bike and had buyer's remorse? But actually, wait. Before we go here, what the hell is it up with those slingshot guys? I seriously, I have no problem with people on Can-Ams. There's a great guy on YouTube, Black Phoenix Entertainment. Go check him out. He rides a 3-wheeler. He rides a Can-Am. It's a great-looking bike. I have no problem riding and waving with them. Your knees are in the breeze, same as mine. You got an extra wheel. Who cares? But those damn slingshot things, they're not motorcycles. It's a Chevy motor with a stick-shift transmission. So, I shouldn't have nodded to him. Probably shouldn't have waved either, but whatever. Things happen. So do me a favor, everybody. Drop down below. Hit comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you ever had buyer's remorse or if you wish you had bought another bike. Drop down. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. That little bell notification, yeah, that's going to let you know when I upload some new stuff. So, until the next time, keep the rubber down, the shiny up, and we'll talk to you soon.